Order. This is the annual reorganization meeting of the Gettysburg Area School District Board of School Directors. The holder members of the board are Mr. Michael Dickerson, Mrs. Amy Beth Hodges, Mr. Tim Lynn, Dr. Alan Moyer, and Mr. Tim Sigmund. And our re-elected members of the board is Mr. Kenneth Hassinger. I'd like to welcome this evening our newly elected members of the board, Mr. Jeremy Davis, Mr. Ryan Morris, Mrs. Michelle Smyers. At this time, we'll take roll call. Mr. Moyer?
Present.
Mr. Dickerson?
Present.
Mrs. Hodges?
Here.
Mr. Lynn?
Mr. Lynn?
Thank you. Mr. Sigmund?
I'm here.
Mrs. Smyers? Mr. Moyer?
We're all counted for.
You there, Mike?
Yep, hold on a second, Tim, we're here.
At this time, from the holdover membership, we will elect a temporary president whose term shall exist only until the president is elected later in the agenda. Nominations are now in order for the office of temporary president of this meeting. Do I hear any nominations?
Belinda, this is Tim Sigmund. I'd like to nominate Mike Dickerson for temporary president.
And I would like to second that.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I close the nominations and direct the secretary, of course, to ballot for the nominations as is in order. All those in favor of the motion shall say by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Dickerson is declared the elected temporary president. Welcome to the board. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We'll move to item number 4 on the agenda, the certificate of election. So I have received certificates for election for all the re-elected and newly elected board members for the board and will now read the election certificate. We, the County Board of Elections, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast in a municipal election held on November 2nd, 2021 in the County of Adams, Jeremy Davis, Kenny Hassinger, Ryan Morris, and Michelle Smyers were duly elected to the office of Gettysburg Area School Director for a term of 4 years. The certificates are signed and sealed by the Adams County Board of Elections by Mr. Randy File, Jim Martin, and Marty Qualley. We'll now move to item number 5 on the agenda. The next order of business is to administer the oath of office to the re-elected and the newly elected board members of the board. Would those individuals please come forward to receive the oath of office administered by our notary, Tamala McConaughey. Thank you and congratulations. You may now take your place at the board table. We will now move to item 6.1 on the agenda, where we will elect a new board president. Nominations are now in order for the office of board president. Do I hear any nominations?
Mr. Dickerson, I'd like to nominate Kenny Hassinger for president.
Do we need a second for that?
Yes.
I would like to second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we will now have a roll call vote for the office of Board President. Please state yes for an affirmative vote of the candidate or a no for negative. We'll now have a roll call. Al Moyer,
An enthusiastic yes?
Amy Beth Hodges,
Yes.
Jeremy Davis,
Yes.
Ryan Morris,
Yes.
Michelle Smyers,
Yes.
Tim Sigmund,
Yes.
Kenny Hassinger,
Yes.
and I vote yes. The motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. President. I'm sorry. Tim and Lynn, I forgot to call you. Tim and...
Yes.
You were being so quiet, I forgot you were there. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the confidence. Moving on, 6.2, Vice President. May I have a nomination for Vice President? May I have a nomination for Vice President?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Al Moyer.
I'd like to second that.
Are there any additional nominations for Vice President? Hearing none. Roll call. Jeremy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Timon?
Tim.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Congratulations, Al. 7.1, solicitor approval to take action and discuss Barley and Snyder, Mr. McQuaid as solicitor for the calendar year of 2022. May I have a motion?
I would like to motion or nominate Mr. McQuaid.
May I have a second?
A second.
Question? Roll call. Timon?
Timon?
Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Newspaper of record number 8, board to discuss and take action, adopt newspaper of record for the Gettysburg Area School District. It would be the Gettysburg Times. May I have a motion?
So moved, Mike Dickerson.
Second. Al Moyer.
Question? Hearing no question, roll call. Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The next item, number 9, meeting dates. The board to take action, discuss and take action. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question? Roll call. Jeremy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Number 10, state and federal law agreement. Discuss and take action. Agree to follow state and federal laws, regulations, and standards. Gettysburg School District contracts and Gettysburg Area School District policy manual. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second, Amy Beth Hodges.
Question? Roll call. Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
And Jeremy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. PSBA Legislative Chairperson, Board discuss and take action on a request to select the PSBA Legislative Chairperson for the year of 2022. May I have a motion?
Mr. President.
Do I have a second?
We have to motion to.
No, do we have a motion on 11.1 PSBA legislative selection?
We have to choose the person, don't we?
Oh,
There needs to be a name.
yeah.
So, Mr. President, I would like to nominate Amy Beth Hodges. She's done a fine job.
Amy Beth Hodges has a first. May I have a second on Amy Beth Hodges?
I'll second.
Question? Hearing no question, roll call. Jeremy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Number 12, the York Adams Tax Bureau Representatives. Take action, the request to appoint Belinda Wallen as our representative and Thomas Fortman as an alternate representative of the York Adams Tax Bureau for the year of 2022. May I have a motion?
Amy Beth Hodges, I'd like to make that motion at this time.
Tim Sigmund, second.
Question on the motion on the floor. Hearing none, roll call. Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That concludes the reorganization business. The board will adjourn for a brief 5 minutes before we'll start our regular weekly meeting. We stand adjourned. Folks, and thank you for attending the reorganization meeting as we move forward into our regular Board of Directors meetings for December 6th, 2021. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the Gettysburg Area School District. Public comment is welcome, and issues will be referred to the appropriate board, committee, or administrator. Comments will be summarized in the official board minutes, which will be made available by contacting the business office. Roll call, Ms. Collins. Everybody's present except for Mr. Lynn, who is excused. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you're following along on your agenda, number 3, notice of communications, I would note that there are not any this evening. Citizens' participation. Mr. Moore, would you please handle that?
Good evening, everyone. We have one person who is asked to address the board this evening, Mr. Harry Hart.
Good evening. How ironic is it that tonight this new board will continue to discuss the district's next year's budget along with a possible tax increase, while they just seated a member that as of 4 p.m. today still owes $27,000 in past due taxes from 2019 and 2020. Under no circumstances should new board member Ryan Morris be allowed to vote on the approval of any district expense or other financial matters. He has not earned that right due to his unpaid taxes for the last 2 years. For the record, Mr. Morris is on a payment plan to pay those past due taxes, and he continues to incur penalties and interest on these unpaid taxes. I would also find it very surprising if Mr. Morris has even considered paying his 2021 taxes as of yet. Regarding Mr. Morris on a tax payment plan, I would ask this board to consider your financial position if every taxpayer in this district was on a payment plan. I don't believe you could turn the lights on tonight if that was the case. So tax payment plans are fine, but that's not the way good tax-paying citizens do business and run their households. If Mr. Morris is allowed to participate or have input in any district financial decisions, it shows this board has no respect for the taxpayers in this district who pay their taxes on time year after year. There are several pending lawsuits against Mr. Morris, one from a large local law firm for unpaid legal fees. There is also a foreign country, Qatar, that is suing Mr. Morris for over $200,000 for services that were not handed to them, but he was paid for. These lawsuits and unpaid taxes should eliminate Mr. Morris's ability to be involved with this organization, the Gettysburg Area School District Board, that for the most part is honest with the taxpayers and does pay their bills on time. On the other hand, when you start talking about taxes, perhaps Mr. Morris will weigh in and be supportive of a tax increase. What does it matter for him? He doesn't pay his taxes on time anyway. I look forward to a response from this board and Mr. Morris on his unpaid tax issues. If necessary, I will be back meeting after meeting bringing new information to this board. For the record, I don't believe Mr. Morris will resign from this board from what I've said tonight. I believe there will be other issues popping up in Mr. Morris's future that will force him to resign from this board.
Thank you. Routine approvals, 5.1 through 5.8. May I have a motion, please?
Amy Beth Hodges, so moved.
I'll second.
Question on routine approvals, motion. Hearing none, roll call. Tim?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Number 6, items for board action, 6.1, the Act 1 resolution Board discuss and take action to adopt a 2022-223 budget resolution confirming Act 1 index for tax increases will not be exceeded by the district. This action will not allow exceeding the adjusted Act 1 index of 4% for any reason. Basically, in a nutshell, anytime through the budget negotiations, we will not look at anything from 4% or above with this vote. May I have a motion?
Amy Beth Hodges, so moved.
Tim Sigmund, second.
Question? Hearing none, roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Informational item 7.1, budget fiscal management resolution. Jason or Belinda, I'm not sure who.
Probably both.
That's
Do you want
fine.
to come up to the microphone, Belinda?
Belinda, if you don't mind at the microphone, if you could just pull that, because it's difficult to hear.
This was the resolution. It's a draft resolution that we put together for the board to consider. We looked at it at the Finance Facilities Committee meeting in November, and it's just in draft form right now. Used a couple of models for resolutions, not exactly like this one, but similar, and just wanted to find some general concepts that the board might agree on as we go into budget season each year, and if those general philosophies are agreeable to the board, it's a resolution that we can use kind of as a touchstone as we move through the budget process each year. Belinda, anything that I missed on that intro?
No, I don't believe he did. One of the areas is we're looking at potentially a 5-year plan. So this is a proposal to get there.
Belinda, would I be correct through the resolution? This is a resolution that we've been talking about where we're setting ourselves in the future for future boards to stay within what our revenues and our expenses are so that we're not sitting here each year trying to do voodoo math and figure out where we're going to fall the next year, that we're kind of setting ourselves up to be consistent within our budget and our spending, matching our revenue.
Yeah, I think that it's, if it's anything, it's a roadmap, a 5-year roadmap, because we wouldn't be able to close the expenditure and revenue gap in 1 year. So I think that as we look at it as a 5-year process, it's easier to take smaller bites of the elephant across 5 years, with the goal 5 years from now being that those things are equal.
No, I understand that. We weren't going to do it overnight, but it's kind of commits this board as we move forward, and kind of commits future boards to take a closer look at what we're spending with what we're bringing in, and seeing a better evaluation of where our end of the year audit comes out, where it matches something similar to what it should be matching in terms of a level playing field, correct?
Right. We would want our revenues to equal our expenditures, and if that happens, then the more accurate that we are, then we won't need fund balance to bridge that gap on a yearly basis. Therefore, we won't need money going into fund balance on a yearly basis to balance the budget.
Are there any additional questions from any board members? What's the timetable on this, Jason, in terms of, will it go back to the Finance Committee for further review before the final product comes before the board?
Not if there aren't any questions. So if questions come up after this meeting, if you send them to Belinda and I, if there are no questions, we would bring it to a January meeting for action.
So let me back up, and I don't want to take up the time. Would this not go back before Finance Committee? And the reason I ask you is the questions that may be posed after tonight's board meeting may be better addressed in a public forum at Building and Finance, where board members have an opportunity to hear the answers to any questions that any board members would have related to this resolution. So all I'm asking is, there's a reason that we can't put this back, instead of bringing it for board action, immediately back through the finance committee to be vetted with any questions and answers prior to it coming to the board?
Sure we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions from board members? Hearing none. 7.2, the facility maintenance assessment professional services, informational item.
Thank you. A little background on this info item here. We currently use facilities management software to enter and process work orders, as well as catalog all of our building assets across all the different infrastructure systems. What we've done is we've reached out to Empowered Facilities Management, which is a professional service that will come in and assess the building systems and essentially inventory and catalog all of the systems within our software system. So we will have very finite information relative to all of our building assets, everything from HVAC equipment, electrical equipment, down to square footage of different finishes, interior and exterior. That way we essentially know what we have as a district, and we can utilize that information for setting up preventative maintenance plans to extend lifespan of all the infrastructures within the buildings, as well as utilize the cost data that will be developed as part of this process for future budgeting.
Do any board members have any questions on 7.2?
I have a couple questions. So, who is Mr. Morgan going to report to? You?
Yes.
Okay. And is there an estimated time frame for him to complete this job?
We currently have in discussions for really a plan across various buildings, essentially a prioritization of the different facilities based upon age. So that plan is, I would say, probably about 50% complete at this point. Once we have agreed to retain his services, then I'll sit down and finalize that plan.
Okay. And then is he going to be training anybody on how to use, like, who uses this program? Just you, or you and Mr. Hoffman, or?
The FMX is utilized by all the facilities technicians for those items that I just mentioned. That's really what this information item is for, yes.
Well, I guess maybe my question is, so when he's done with all the asset tags, let's say you pull a piece of equipment offline, or you put something else in, is he going to train you or somebody else on how to put a new piece of equipment into the system?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments relative to that one?
I don't believe so. I appreciate your presentation. 7.3, capital improvement program.
Yeah, this is the yearly program that goes out 5 years. So generally it's approved in January, so it's coming in information. It was recently reviewed at the Finance and Facilities meeting, and so that folks have a hard copy, I just put those at your place a few minutes ago. If anybody wants to look at those.
Do any board members have a specific question on the capital improvement program, and specific capital improvement program that's in front of you with what the district's identified as needs moving forward in terms of projects.
Can I clarify, Mr. President?
Yes.
Beth Hodges, did we just agree that this was going to go back to the buildings and facilities in order for the new members to possibly ask questions after review and then bring it forth in the January meeting? Am I correct?
Well, what actually I suggested, and they agreed to send back, not actually send back, but allow it go back to finance for any questions and answers, was the board fiscal management, which was the resolution related to the budget. If you believe, and maybe I guess the district would have to answer that question for me, if there's something pressing, I don't see an alarming problem with it going back to finance for one meeting if new board members want to take a look at it, or they can take a look at it between now and the next meeting.
I can only put myself back to when I was just on board. It would have been nice to have the opportunity to do that in an informal setting so that some of the kinks can get worked out, some of the maybe newbie questions could be answered. I would have appreciated it. So if it's possible, that would be my preference.
I'm not hearing, Tom, there's no issue. So my suggestion would be to accommodate not only new board members, but allow the board to take a closer look at the capital improvement program that was handed here this evening. As a part of my responsibility, we'll choose a chairman for the finance committee, and it quite possibly have a meeting here in December. And if you can hold on, if not early January, which will allow us, if everything goes right, to have it on our first meeting in January, which hopefully is not January 3rd. So we're really not delaying it, but it's at least allowing it to be vetted out by the new members. So, yeah, very good idea, Amy Beth. Are there any additional questions related to?
Mr. President, not a question, but just a compliment and kudos to the team who put this capital improvement plan together. I was at the Facilities and Finance meeting where there was a detailed presentation regarding the items that are in here for the next planning for the next 5 years. And I might suggest that as part of our onboarding process that we've already started with our new board members, that maybe our facilities team could utilize maybe part of that as our onboarding agenda to bring them up to speed on the details of the 5-year plan, should they have any questions.
I'll echo that, because if you recall when we looked at the terrazzo floors, and Tom, there were some other items that we were looking at back then, I don't recall. The board was able to go out and look at those particular areas prior to the vote. So I would encourage the board, if you have a particular question on a capital improvement, attend the finance meeting. If you need to see firsthand, I'm sure the district would accommodate you taking a look at a particular area of interest for you. Hearing nothing more, moving forward, board committee reports.
Mr. President.
Mike.
Yep, the policy committee will reconvene on December 14th, which is a Tuesday at 4 p.m. at the administration building. We'll continue to work on the 22-23 school calendar and any policies that may be up for review.
Thank you. Any additional board committee reports? Hearing none. Program reports?
Just a couple of calendar reminders. Rebecca Leathery is going to send out a note tomorrow to families and staff just with some calendar updates, and also just as a reminder that folks can always go in and update their contact info as we get into the colder months. That's when people generally hear from me at 5:30 in the morning. She'll send out a note reminder tomorrow to folks for that. But upcoming pretty soon here, I need biphonals. We got this coming Friday, the 10th, is a half day for students, and also the 22nd of December. And the 23rd is off for students, and then the winter break runs from the 24th through the start of the new year, and then school resumes on the 3rd, the same day as the next board meeting.
Okay, the calendar of board events, we typically don't have a conversation about that, but I want to let the board know that like we do in the summertime, we're going to evaluate the January 3rd meeting related to items for board action. There's multiple reasons for that. It's over the holiday. The school's not in session. This is very difficult. We're going to ask administration and everybody to come in over the Christmas holiday on their own to try to make an agenda. I'm not saying we're moving it or canceling it. If there's something that needs board action that's pressing prior to the January 18th meeting, and I'll certainly speak with board members individually and make the final decision, but that is a possibility. I would encourage, though, the board committee chairmen of each to look to see a meeting date for your committee prior to January 3rd. So if we don't move the date, we're able to do the action items that we spoke about tonight, moving them. But for the public, we'll certainly advertise. As of right now, we have a January 3rd meeting, but in all likelihood, unless something is pressing on the agenda, our next meeting would be January 18th. As a side note, we'll be moving back to the administration building. That's our goal after this meeting. So effective after the first of the year, the board will reconvene at the administration building. There might be a little bit of a setback once we're there. If you're aware, we're taking on a construction project to bring the administration building and our meeting room into the 21st century to allow our constituents and our public the opportunity to look real time at our meetings and be able to see our faces and be able to understand who's asking a question. If you've watched here lately, our capabilities for live streaming are less than stellar. We look like black dots sitting here with no face and a name. So our goal is really to make our meetings accessible to those people that can't attend in person for transparency and for them to know and be active within what we do. Again, that's our goal. Like everything else in the last 2 years, I've been wrong, but that is where I'm at with in terms of a decision back to the administration building. Having said that, I know that there's nothing on for good of the order, but I will allow any board member, if you have anything you'd like for good of the order, it's not on the agenda. If not, Al.
Just a best wishes to my board colleagues and the entire community and all of you here tonight for a blessed holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I would also echo that and congratulate the elected board members. Certainly the district's mission and its board's mission, I firmly believe is focused on not only the taxpayers, but the staff and the students. And I'm quite confident that this board will get through whatever ups and downs that we face and do what's right, keeping those three things in mind. Having said that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we look forward to seeing you in January. We stand adjourned. My motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
We stand adjourned.